morning, Mr. Tuffanelli. My name is America Silva, and this is my case analysis about garment workers with emphasis on child labor. After the American Free Trade Agreement was passed, many clothing manufacturers were questioned about their child labor practices. Children as young as 10 years old were working in these companies. Their work weeks consisted of 55 hours or more per week. For them, this is a way to assist in the survival of their families financially. School was not an option, it was a luxury. They were only able to attend the school until they were old enough to work in the factory. Child labor, as defined by the UNICEF, is work which exceeds a minimum number of hours depending on age and type of work. For example, children between the ages 5 and 11 who work at least 1 hour commercial work and 28 hours domestic. Children between the ages of 12 and 14 who work at least 14 hours commercial work and 28 hours domestic. And children between the ages 15 and 17 who work at least 43 hours commercial and domestic. The main concern of organizations who protect the rights of the children, such as UNICEF, is the exploitative nature of the conditions in which the children work. For example, the working conditions, such as no bathrooms, no air conditioning, which reaches the temperature up to 100 Fahrenheit, no drinking water, and in some cases even children are chained to the wall. Number of hours, it's another example. In some cases, children work as many as 20 hours per day. Physical, social, and psychological stress. Their limited education being that they are not able to attend the school anymore. The undermining that these children go through for their dignity and self-esteem, especially when they are sexually exploited, when they are enslaved, or bonded labor. Bonded labor is a practice in South Asia. As an example, what parents do is if they need money, they request a small loan, and then they have their children work until that loan is paid. Oftentimes, the children are working for their entire lifetime, and they are only able to pay a small amount of that loan. Another problem is, which is very important, is the social and psychological development. For example, their physical, cognitive, emotional, social, and moral development. In their physical development, they are not developing their senses well, maybe because of lighting. They're not growing properly, maybe because, as an example, young children are crouching on their toes for 20 hours a day to try to get their job done. Therefore, they are not growing properly. Their vision, their hearing, that's being affected by the working conditions. In terms of the cognitive development, some of them don't learn how to read or write or how to add or subtract. They don't know how to act normal. In terms of their emotional development, they don't know the feeling of family, of being loved, of being cared for. In terms of their social and moral development, they don't know how to interact in a group, how to interact with people, how to distinguish between what's right and wrong. These children are experiencing a lot of abuse. They don't know, they develop fear. They really don't know what's right and what's wrong. They only know what they are living at this moment, and that does not let them develop their own characteristics. Some of the alternatives that I'm going to address in order to end child labor would be promoting and enhancing education, child labor laws, empowering the poor. Those are the three alternatives that I chose from the 5 key initiatives that the State of the World's Children used as a strategy to end child labor. The main idea that I really liked was promoting and enhancing education. To me, education is very powerful. It gives you the opportunity to see what other things are available out there. It gives the kids the opportunity to learn that they have other options that they are able to learn about their rights and learn what's right and wrong. They can even learn other trades, so they don't have to work in clothing garment companies. They could work in perhaps technical companies, even if it's assembling, but it will be something different, something that they would have chosen. They would even have a higher pay because they are now educated. They will learn how to write and read, how to count. I believe education is a powerful tool that could help these children develop mentally and physically too, because they would not have to work under those strenuous hours and environment. So to me, education is very important, but the only problem with that would be that the government would need to provide these kids with the opportunity to have the education accessible to them. Oftentimes kids are not working and are able to go to school, but they can't because their parents cannot afford the uniforms, cannot afford the tuition or the papers, the books, the pencils. So the government has to step in and help and promote free education. This is one of the things that the UNICEF actually helped with. They were promoting elementary education for free, and many countries actually envelop that and develop strategies to get that done. But still, we need more schools, we need more items. We need to help the parents as well as the children to achieve their education. Another way to end child labor would be child labor laws. Each government is responsible to make judicial changes and laws and government changes to support and protect children's rights. By them doing this, organizations like the UNICEF will be able to protect children, will be able to come to a company and say, hey, you're violating their rights, and have a paper, a legal paper that would tell them you are violating them. So the government needs to establish laws. They need to establish legal rights for these children. Of course, the problem with this is that they will not be immediately implemented, but we will be able to use them in the future. And as we progress into ending completely child labor, we will be able to prosecute those who cannot or would not want to comply to these laws. Child labor laws is important. Empowering the poor. Empowering the poor goes along with education. It is assisting the parents with perhaps small loans for them to provide for their children while they're going to school. It is assisting the parents with helping them making school more accessible for their children. It is creating more jobs for parents so that their children don't have to work. That is a way of empowering the poor. It is assisting them having the means to be able to not need that extra money that their children bring in. These are the three alternatives that I chose, and the one that I really like is education. Nobody can take that away from you, and that's the only way that children will be able to defend themselves and will be able to make a more educated decision on what they want to have as a life. I believe that by educating our children, we are starting to change their mind, and with them, we can start changing the government in terms of why children should not work there, and they would be able to have a voice and will be able to help make their country better. I have often heard that our children are our future, but if we're not letting our future educate themselves, then we no longer have a future. I believe that one of the best ways to end child labor would be by educating our children and giving them the capability of making their own choices. This is the end of my presentation.